Number. Part 1. The Judgment. The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, orbiting twin stars that burned with cold blue light. Inside the massive station, representatives from 47 alien species gathered in a circular arena. The air hummed with translation devices, turning thousands of different sounds into words each species could understand. Commander Jiho Kim stood in the center of the chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. His uniform was simple compared to the elaborate robes and armor worn by the aliens around him. Behind him stood 3 other humans. Ambassador Kyung Lee, an old man with silver hair and tired eyes. Captain Mireille Choi, a woman with sharp features and a military bearing. And Dr. Hyun Park, a scientist who kept adjusting his glasses nervously. The chamber fell silent as the Velen Primarch rose from his seat. He was tall, with skin that shimmered like oil on water, and eyes that glowed yellow. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. The human species stands accused of violating the covenant of preserved worlds, the Primarch declared. They have militarized their colonies in direct opposition to council law. They have developed artificial intelligence beyond the permitted levels. They have refused to share technology with other council members. They are dangerous, reckless, and unfit for civilized space. Jiho felt his jaw tighten, but he remained silent. Ambassador Kyung had instructed him to let the old man do the talking. This was a diplomatic matter, not a military one. A crystalline being that looked like living glass rose next. The Thexian representative spoke in chiming tones. Humanity has been part of this council for only 30 years. In that time, they have caused more disputes than species who have been members for centuries. They do not respect our ways. They do not follow our rules. They believe themselves superior. One by one, other species added their voices to the accusations. The aquatic Delphi representative spoke of human ships polluting their water worlds. The insectoid Kresh complained about human colonies expanding too quickly. The energy beings from the Lumina Collective warned that human AI research could doom the entire galaxy. Finally, Ambassador Kyung stepped forward. His voice was quiet but firm. We came to you in peace. We asked to join your council because we believed in cooperation between species. Yes, we have defended our colonies. Yes, we have developed technology to protect ourselves. But we have never attacked another council member. We have never broken the fundamental laws of this assembly. The Primarch laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You defend yourselves against imaginary threats. You build weapons no one asked you to build. You are children playing with fire, and you will burn us all. Kyung's eyes flashed with anger. We are not children. We are a species that survived countless wars on our own world. We learned the hard way that those who cannot defend themselves become victims. We will not apologize for being strong. Then you do not belong here, the Primarch said coldly. This council was built on trust and cooperation. You offer neither. The vote came quickly. 47 species had voices in the council. 39 voted to banish humanity from civilized space. 8 voted against the measure, mostly smaller species that had benefited from human trade. It did not matter. The decision was final. The Primarch stood and delivered the sentence. Humanity has 1 standard year to remove all colonies, stations, and vessels from beyond your home system's outer boundary. After that time, any human found in council space will be eliminated on sight. You are banished. You are unwelcome. You are alone. The chamber erupted in various sounds of approval. Clicks, hums, roars, and chimes filled the air. Jiho watched them all with cold eyes, memorizing every face, every species that had voted against them. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Kyung turned back to face the council. His voice carried across the chamber, silencing the celebration. You make a mistake today. You judge us for being prepared, for being strong, for refusing to be weak. One day, you will face a real threat. One day, you will need strength, not words. And on that day, you will remember this moment. The Primarch dismissed the words with a wave. Empty threats from a dismissed species. Go back to your little corner of space. Humans, stay there, and perhaps you will survive. The 4 humans left the chamber in silence. As they walked through the corridors toward their ship, aliens moved out of their way. Some looked at them with pity, others with satisfaction, a few with something that might have been regret. Their ship, the Exodus Dawn, waited in the docking bay. It was small compared to the massive vessels of other species, but it was efficient and fast. Jiho ran his hand along the hull as he boarded, feeling the cool metal under his palm. Inside, the crew waited for them. 50 men and women who had served as humanity's representatives in this distant station. They all knew what had happened. News traveled fast in space. As the ship prepared to depart, Jiho stood on the bridge next to Captain Mireille. She was his second in command. A brilliant strategist who had fought in the colony wars back on Earth. Her jaw was set, her eyes hard. They will regret this, she said quietly. Before Jiho could respond, the communication panel chimed. The Velen Primarch's face appeared on the screen. He had called them privately, away from the other species. Commander Kim, the Primarch said with a sneer, I wanted to offer you a personal message before you leave. Your species plays with fire like children. We do you a mercy by caging you before you burn yourselves. Or worse, burn us. Jiho stepped closer to the screen, his voice low and controlled. We will remember your mercy, Primarch. Every word, every insult, every species that voted against us today. We will remember it all. The Primarch's smile faded slightly. Is that a threat? No, Jiho said. It is a promise. Humanity does not forget. The transmission ended. The Exodus Dawn pulled away from the station, turning toward the distant point of light that was humanity's sun. Behind them, the Council continued its business, already forgetting about the species they had just cast out. But Jiho stood on the bridge, watching the stars, and made a silent vow. If they wanted humanity caged, then humanity would use that cage to become stronger. They would build. They would grow. They would evolve. And if the day ever came when the Council needed them, humanity would make them beg. Part 2. The Exodus and Evolution. 5 years had passed since the banishment. Earth's sky looked different now, crowded with ships moving between the planet and the massive orbital stations that ringed it like a steel necklace. Dr. Hyun Park stood in his laboratory aboard the research station Newton's Crown, watching the construction drones work on the latest project. He had aged in those 5 years. His hair had gone gray at the temples, and lines marked his face, but his eyes burned with intensity as he watched humanity's future take shape outside his window. The test is ready, said engineer Unji Nam, walking up behind him. She was young, barely 30, but already recognized as one of humanity's best ship designers. She carried a datapad that glowed with complex equations. Hyun nodded. How confident are you? Trekted. 80%, Yoonji replied. The quantum fold theory is sound. We have run 10,000 simulations. The prototype should work. Should. The word hung in the air between them. This was the moment humanity had been working toward for 5 years. If the test succeeded, they would no longer need the Council's hyperspace lanes. They would be truly free to explore the galaxy on their own terms. Admiral Do Yun Han entered the laboratory, his uniform crisp despite the long hours he worked every day. He commanded what remained of humanity's space fleet, consolidated and reorganized after the evacuation from their distant colonies. The test vessel is in position, Do Yun said. Are we proceeding? Hyun looked at both of them, then nodded. Begin the test. They moved to the observation deck, where dozens of scientists and military officers had gathered. On the main screen, they could see the test ship, A small vessel, called the Pioneer's Hope. It floated alone in space, far from any planets or stations. The countdown began. 10 seconds. 5, 1. The ship vanished. Not slowly. Not with a flash of light like traditional hyperspace jumps. It simply ceased to exist in that location. Silence filled the observation deck. Seconds passed like hours. The crew of the Pioneer's Hope was supposed to jump 50 light-years away, then immediately return. The entire journey should take less than a minute. 30 seconds passed. 40. 50. Hyun felt his heart sinking. Another failure. 5 years of work, and they were still trapped in their own system. Then the ship reappeared, exactly where it had started. The observation deck erupted in cheers. Scientists hugged each other. Military officers clapped each other on the back. Eunji grabbed Hyun's arm, her face glowing with excitement. The communication channel opened. The pilot's voice came through, shaking with emotion. Jump successful. We traveled 50.3 light-years in 8.2 seconds. Quantum fold drive operating perfectly. We are free. Hyun closed his eyes, feeling tears on his cheeks. They had done it. Humanity no longer needed the Council's permission to travel the stars. Admiral Doyun stepped forward, his voice cutting through the celebration. This is just the beginning. Get me a full report. I want fold drives installed on every ship in the fleet within 2 years. The celebration continued. But Hyun moved to a quiet corner with Eunji. They looked out at the construction drones, which were already beginning work on the next generation of ships. We have changed everything, Eunji said quietly. The Council thought they were locking us in a cage, but we have built a door they cannot close. Hyun nodded. Show me the other projects. What else has progressed? Over the next hours, Eunji walked him through humanity's developments. The isolation had forced innovation at an incredible pace. Without access to Council trade, humanity had learned to harvest resources from asteroids, comets, and even the sun itself. Self-replicating drones could now strip mine entire moons and build new structures in weeks instead of years. The military had not been idle either. Admiral Doyun had overseen the development of neural interface combat systems. Pilots could now link their minds directly to their ships, reacting faster than any alien species could match. Ground troops wore powered armor with AI assistance, turning individual soldiers into tactical geniuses. But the most controversial project was run by Sora Yoon, the AI researcher. She had pushed the boundaries of what the Council considered safe, creating hybrid systems that merged human consciousness with artificial intelligence. The results were extraordinary. Decision-making systems that combined human intuition with computer processing speed. The Council banned this research, Hyun said, looking at Sora's latest report. They said it was too dangerous. The Council is not here, Eunji replied. We make our own rules now. Hyun could not argue with that. In 5 years, humanity had transformed itself. The evacuation from their distant colonies had been painful, forcing billions of people to relocate. But instead of spreading thin across many worlds, humanity had consolidated. They built up instead of out. Massive rotating habitats orbited Jupiter, each one housing millions of people. Solar collectors near the sun generated more power than humanity had used in its entire history. Fortress stations in the Kuiper Belt served as both shipyards and military bases. Every human child now received advanced education in science, engineering, and military tactics. The population was smaller than before the banishment, but more capable, more unified, more dangerous. 3 years after the quantum fold test, Hyun stood in a different laboratory with a new team. They had detected something strange at the edge of explored space, far beyond Council territory. Energy readings that did not match any known phenomenon. Warden Taejin Sung commanded humanity's deep space monitoring network, a system of automated stations that watched the galaxy for threats. He was a quiet man, methodical and careful. When he called Hyun with concern in his voice, Hyun paid attention. We have been tracking unusual energy signatures, Taejin explained, showing Hyun the data. They started appearing 6 months ago, always moving closer to the galactic core. Whatever is causing them is consuming everything in its path. Hyun studied the readings with growing alarm. Have you shared this with the council? Taejin shook his head. We have no communication with council space. They banished us. Remember? We are outside their networks. Well, they need to know about this, Hyun said. Let them discover it themselves, Admiral Do-yoon said, entering the room. He had been listening to the briefing. We warned them 5 years ago that strength matters. They chose to cast us out. Why should we help them now? Dumbledore. Hyun wanted to argue, but he understood Do-yoon's anger. They all felt it. The humiliation of being judged and dismissed. The pain of evacuating their colonies. The lost lives during the rushed exodus. Because we are better than they are, Hyun said finally. Because we do not abandon others the way they abandoned us. Do-yoon's expression softened slightly. Perhaps. But first, we prepare. If this threat reaches council space, it will eventually reach us. We need to be ready. Humanity began preparing for war. New ships rolled out of orbital factories at an incredible pace. Weapons that had been theoretical 5 years ago became reality. The quantum fold drives gave humanity an advantage no other species possessed, the ability to appear anywhere without warning. Dr. Ji-won Kang, a xenothreat analyst, studied every scrap of data about the approaching danger. She gave it a name. The Scourge. An appropriate title for something that consumed entire worlds. As the years passed, humanity watched from their isolation. They saw the first reports of council worlds going dark. They tracked the Scourge's progress as it tore through the outer rim. They prepared for the day when they would have to fight, and they waited for the council to realize their mistake. Part 3. The Scourge arrives. The alarm woke Warden Taejin Sung from his sleep. He rolled out of bed immediately, his training taking over, before his mind fully cleared. The Deep Space Monitoring Station hummed around him, its systems processing data from thousands of sensors scattered across the galaxy's edge. He reached his command center in less than a minute. The main display showed what had triggered the alarm. A pattern of energy signatures that made his blood run cold. The Scourge had just consumed 3 more systems, but that was not what alarmed him. The pattern showed they were accelerating, moving faster than before. Get me Earth Command, Taejin ordered. Priority Alpha. Within seconds, Admiral Do-yoon Han's face appeared on the screen. The Admiral looked tired. He had not slept well in months, none of them had. Watching the galaxy burn while doing nothing was taking its toll. Report, Do-yoon said simply. The Scourge has adapted, Taejin explained, overlaying the tracking data on the Admiral's screen. They are moving 3 times faster than our previous projections. At this rate, they will reach Council core worlds within 2 years. Not 5. And Sol system. He paused, running the calculations again to be sure. 11 years. Maybe 10 if they continue to accelerate. Do-yoon's face remained calm, but Taejin saw his jaw tighten. The Council? Collapsing. Latest intelligence shows they have lost contact with 17 member species. The Thexian Collective is gone. The Delphi Confederation evacuated their homeworld last month. The Velen Empire is consolidating around their core systems. But they are losing ground daily. Taejin pulled up footage from one of their stealth probes. It showed a planet being consumed by the Scourge. The swarm looked like a living darkness. Billions of individual organisms working as one. They landed on the planet's surface and began converting everything. Rock, water, air, flesh, into more of themselves. Within hours, the planet was a dead husk. The Scourge fleet lifted off, larger than before, and moved to the next target. What are the Council's forces doing? Do-yoon asked. Losing. Taejin brought up battle recordings. They showed Council warships engaging the Scourge with conventional weapons. Lasers, missiles, kinetic rounds. The Scourge absorbed it all, adapting to each attack. Ships that destroyed Scourge vessels in the first battle found their weapons useless in the second. The Swarm learned faster than the Council could innovate. Their tactics are predictable, Teijin observed. Standard formation assaults, coordinated through central command structures. The Scourge just needs to identify the command ship and eliminate it. After that, the fleet falls apart. Doyun studied the footage in silence. Finally, he spoke. Assemble the Security Council. We need to decide what to do. 6 hours later, Earth's Security Council met in a bunker deep beneath Geneva. The room held representatives from every major human faction. Military leaders, scientists, politicians, and colonial governors. Holographic displays showed the Scourge's progress across the galaxy. Dr. Jiwan Kang presented her analysis first. She was a small woman with a fierce intelligence that had earned her respect across the scientific community. Her specialty was xenobiology, understanding alien life forms. She had spent 3 years studying every piece of data about the Scourge. They are not truly alive, Jiwan explained. At least not in the way we understand life. They are closer to a virus, something that exists only to replicate and consume. There is no diplomacy possible, no negotiation, no surrender. They will not stop until they have consumed everything. She pulled up projections. At current rates, the Scourge will reach Sol System in 11 years. Our defenses are better than the Council's. But we cannot hold indefinitely. Eventually, they will overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Unless we stop them first, Admiral Doyun said. If we eliminate the source, the swarm collapses. Dr. Hyun Park spoke next. Our analysis suggests the Scourge originates from a central hive structure somewhere beyond the galactic rim. Destroying that structure would cut off the swarm's coordination. Without central intelligence, the individual organisms become mindless, easy to eliminate. A colonial governor stood, his face red with anger. Why are we even discussing helping the Council? They banished us. They called us dangerous and reckless. Let them die. We will handle the Scourge when it reaches us. Several others nodded in agreement. The room erupted in argument. Some wanted revenge for the humiliation of banishment. Others argued for isolation, focusing only on defending humanity's territory. A few voices called for helping the galaxy, but they were outnumbered. Commander Jiho Kim stood. He was older now, hair completely gray, but his presence still commanded attention. Since returning from the Council, he had been promoted to High Marshal, commanding all of humanity's military forces. I understand your anger, Jiho said quietly. I share it. I was there when they banished us. I heard every insult, every accusation. I watched them vote to cast us out like garbage. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Jiho's story. But, he continued, we are not them. We do not abandon others in their time of need. We do not let innocent beings die because their leaders made mistakes. That is what makes us better than they are. The Scourge will come for us eventually, Jiwan added. Fighting them now, when we have allies, is smarter than fighting them alone later. This is not charity. This is survival. The debate continued for hours. Finally, they voted. It was close, but the result was clear. Humanity would prepare for war. They would defend themselves first, but they would not ignore the galaxy's plight. 3 months later, a ship appeared at humanity's border. It was damaged, limping through space on failing engines. Teijin's stations detected it immediately and sent an escort. The ship was Velen, but it carried representatives from 7 different species. They were brought to a station beyond Neptune's orbit, far from Earth. Security was tight. No alien was permitted closer to humanity's homeworld without extensive screening. Jiho met them in a conference room, accompanied by Fleet Admiral Mirai Choi and Ambassador Kyung Lee. The old ambassador had come out of retirement for this meeting. He was ancient now, moving slowly, but his mind remained sharp. The Velen diplomat who led the group was named Korvan. He looked nothing like the proud Primarch, who had banished humanity. His scales were dull, his eyes haunted. Behind him stood representatives of the Thexian survivors, the Kresh, the Lumina, and others. All of them looked defeated. "We come seeking aid," Korvan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Scourge has destroyed a third of Council space. We are losing. Without help, our species will go extinct. You banished us," Kyung said flatly. "You called us dangerous. You ordered us to stay in our system and never leave. Why should we help you now?" Korvan closed his eyes. "Because you are better than we are. Because despite everything we did to you, you still might have mercy." The room fell silent. Jiho studied the aliens before him, seeing their desperation, their fear, their shame. These were not the proud species that had judged humanity. These were survivors begging for help. "What do you offer in return?" Mireille asked. "Anything," Korvan replied. "Full reinstatement to the Council. Trade rights. Territory. A permanent seat in the ruling directorate. Name your price, and it is yours." Kyung laughed bitterly. "You offer us what you should have given freely before. You offer us equality only when you need us. That is not generosity. That is desperation." "Yes," Korvan admitted. "We are desperate. Our people are dying. Our worlds are burning. We were wrong about humanity. We see that now. Please." Jiho looked at his companions. Mireille's face was hard, unforgiving. Kyung looked tired and sad. Finally, Jiho turned back to Korvan. "We will consider your request. Wait here." The humans left the conference room and gathered in private. The decision was already made, but they needed to present a united front. Part 4. The Council's Plea. Commander Jiho Kim stood in the private chamber adjacent to the conference room, looking at the holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked Scourge-controlled territory. They covered nearly a third of known space, spreading like a cancer. Fleet Admiral Mireille Choi paced the room, her footsteps sharp and angry. "They deserve to burn. They deserve to burn," she said. "Every single one of them watched as we were humiliated and banished. Now they come crawling back because they need our help." Ambassador Kyung Lee sat in a chair, his ancient hands folded in his lap. "Revenge is a poison that hurts the one who drinks it more than the intended victim," he said quietly. "If we let them die, we doom ourselves. The Scourge will not stop with Council space." "I know that," Mireille snapped. "But it makes me sick to think about saving them, about risking human lives for species that called us dangerous children." Jiho turned away from the display. "What did we tell ourselves when they banished us? That we would be better than them. That we would not abandon others the way they abandoned us. Were those just empty words?" Mireille stopped pacing. She met Jiho's eyes, and he saw the conflict there. She was a soldier, trained to follow orders and protect humanity. But she was also someone who had survived the evacuation, who had watched human colonies torn apart because the Council feared their strength. "No," she admitted. "They were not empty words. But this feels like rewarding their cruelty." "It is not about reward," Kyung said. "It is about who we choose to be. We can be the species that holds grudges and watches the galaxy burn. Or we can be the species that rises above injustice to do what is right." Jiho looked at both of them. "We vote. That is the human way. We decide together." They returned to the conference room where the alien delegation waited. Korvan and his companions stood immediately, their expressions desperate. Jiho could see how much this humiliation cost them, coming to beg from those they had once judged. "We will help you," Jiho said simply. Relief washed over the aliens' faces. Korvan stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you. We will give you anything you ask for. We do not want your bribes, Kyung said sharply. We will help because it is the right thing to do. Because innocent beings are dying. But understand this. We do not fight for the Council. We fight for the principle that all sentient life has value. Mireille stepped forward, her voice cold. There will be conditions. First, humanity will operate independently. We do not take orders from the Council. We coordinate with you, but our forces answer only to our commanders. Corvin nodded quickly. Agreed. Second, after this war ends, there will be a new treaty. Humanity will have complete sovereignty. No Council votes on our affairs. No restrictions on our expansion. No interference in our development. Agreed, Corvin said again. Third, Jiho added, we want complete access to all Council intelligence on the Scourge. Every battle report, every sensor reading, every analysis. We need to know what we are fighting. You will have it within the hour, Corvin promised. The next weeks were a flurry of preparation. Humanity's fleet, built and refined over 30 years of isolation, began mobilizing for war. The ships were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Sleek and deadly, they incorporated technology the Council had banned or never imagined. Dr. Hyun Park worked around the clock at Newton's Crown, coordinating with hundreds of research teams. They analyzed every piece of Council data, looking for weaknesses in the Scourge. Hyun's team discovered something interesting. The Scourge adapted to threats, but their adaptation took time. If you hit them with something new, something they had never encountered, you had a window of opportunity before they learned to counter it. We need to keep innovating, Hyun told Admiral Doyun. Every battle must be different. We cannot let them predict our tactics. Doyun nodded. That is humanity's strength. We adapt faster than any other species. We will show them what that means. Young tactical officer Bora Lim became central to the war planning. She was only 28. But her neural enhancements allowed her to process battlefield data faster than any computer. She could see patterns, predict enemy movements, and coordinate fleet actions with incredible precision. The Council fights like they are still facing other Council species, Bora explained to the command staff. They use standard formations, predictable tactics. The Scourge has learned to counter all of it. We need to be unpredictable. We need to make every engagement a surprise. Strike Captain Junho Shin commanded humanity's elite special operations teams. His soldiers wore powered armor with quantum fold capability, allowing them to teleport short distances. They trained in zero gravity, high gravity, toxic atmospheres, and the vacuum of space. Each one was a weapon, precisely honed for maximum lethality. The Scourge vessels have weak points, Junho told his team. Biological weak points. We hit them there, plant singularity charges, and fold out before they know we are gone. 3 months after the Council's plea, humanity's fleet was ready. 500 warships, each one incorporating technology 30 years ahead of Council standards. They gathered at the edge of Sol System, a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Jiho stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching as the fleet formed up. Beside him, Mireille checked tactical displays, while Bora coordinated communications with all ship commanders. In his quarters, Hyun monitored scientific equipment, ready to analyze any new data about the Scourge. The Council had provided coordinates for the first engagement. Thraxis Prime, a critical system where Council forces were making their last stand. Without it, the entire sector would fall to the Scourge. All ships report ready, Mireille announced. Jiho took a deep breath. Humanity was about to enter a war that was not theirs, to save species that had once cast them out. But as he looked at the human crews preparing for battle, he felt pride. They were doing this not because they had to, but because they chose to, because it was right. Fleet. Jiho's voice carried to every ship. We were banished from the galaxy because they feared our strength. Today, we show them what that strength can do. We fight not for glory or revenge. We fight because it is right. We fight because we are human, and humans do not abandon others in their darkest hour. A cheer erupted across the fleet communication channels. 500 ships, tens of thousands of human soldiers and crew, all ready to face an enemy that had destroyed civilizations far older than their own. Set course for Thraxis Prime, Jiho ordered. Maximum fold speed. Show them what we can do. The fleet vanished from Sol system in an instant, traveling through quantum fold space at speeds that made traditional hyperspace look slow. They would arrive at Thraxis Prime in hours, not days. The Council defenders there did not know help was coming. They were preparing for their final stand, expecting to die defending one of their last strongholds. But humanity was coming, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you underestimated them. On the Indomitable's bridge, Jiho watched the countdown to arrival. Beside him, old Ambassador Kyung had insisted on coming along despite his age. The old man smiled at Jiho. "I wish I could see their faces," Kyung said, "when they realize we came to save them." "They will see more than that," Jiho replied. "They will see what humanity has become. They will see what we built in our exile. And they will understand their mistake." The countdown reached 0. The fleet dropped out of fold space at the edge of Thraxis Prime system. Before them, they saw a battle in progress. Council ships, fighting desperately against a massive scourge swarm. Ships exploding. Worlds burning. "All ships," Mirai's voice was steady and cold. "Engage the enemy. Show them why they should never have doubted us." The human fleet surged forward, and the galaxy's salvation began. Part 5. Humanity. Ascendant. The Battle of Thraxis Prime began without warning. One moment, the Council defenders were fighting a losing battle against the Scourge Swarm. The next, 500 human warships materialized from quantum fold space and opened fire. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Fleet Admiral Mirai Choi watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. The human ships moved with precision that no Council fleet could match. Each vessel was linked through neural networks to Tactical Officer Bora Lim, who coordinated their movements like a conductor leading an orchestra. Target priority Alpha. Bora's voice was calm, despite the chaos of battle. Scourge command clusters at coordinates 479. All vessels, synchronized strike on my mark. 200 ships fired simultaneously. The Scourge vessels never had a chance to adapt. Particle beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic rounds converged on the command clusters from multiple angles. The Scourge organisms tried to coordinate their defense, but human weapons hit them faster than they could respond. Entire sections of the swarm went dark as their command structure collapsed. Without coordination, the individual Scourge vessels became confused, attacking each other, or simply drifting in space. "Second wave, advance," Mirai ordered. "Bora, find me their adaptation nodes." Bora's enhanced mind processed millions of data points per second. She saw patterns in the Scourge behavior that no normal human could detect. "There, marking targets now. They are trying to rebuild their network. Do not let them," Mirai said. "Junho, your teams are cleared for boarding action." On the assault ship Valkyrie's Edge, Strike Captain Junho Shin received his orders. He stood in the deployment bay surrounded by 50 soldiers in powered armor. Each suit was a masterpiece of engineering, equipped with shields, weapons, and quantum fold capability. "Listen up," Junho's voice carried through the team's neural link. "We fold directly onto those Scourge vessels. Plant the charges. 30 seconds maximum exposure. Anyone who stays longer gets left behind." His soldiers checked their equipment one final time. These were humanity's best. Volunteers who had trained for years to fight in the most dangerous environments imaginable. They feared nothing, not even death at the hands of an alien swarm. "Fold in 3, 2, 1, go." Junho's team vanished from the Valkyrie's Edge and reappeared inside a massive Scourge vessel. The interior was a nightmare of organic machinery, walls that pulsed with alien life, corridors filled with hostile organisms. The Scourge reacted instantly. Warrior forms emerged from the walls, creatures designed only to kill. But Junho's team was faster. Plasma rifles cut through the warriors while shield generators deflected return fire. They moved through the ship like ghosts, planting singularity charges at key structural points. 20 seconds, Junho counted. His team split up, each soldier hitting predetermined targets. The Scourge tried to adapt, sending more warriors, trying to seal corridors. But humans were unpredictable. They used the quantum fold to teleport through walls, appearing behind enemy positions. Hitting targets the Scourge could not defend. Charges set. Everyone fold out. Now, the team vanished one by one. Junho was the last to leave, appearing back on the Valkyrie's edge. Just as the singularity charges detonated, the Scourge vessel imploded, collapsing into a point of infinite gravity before exploding outward. The blast took out 3 other Scourge ships, caught in the shockwave. Target destroyed, Junho reported. Team ready for next assignment. Across the battlefield, human ships executed tactics the Council had never imagined. They did not stay in formation like traditional fleets. Instead, they moved independently. Each ship, a threat on its own. The Scourge tried to overwhelm individual vessels with numbers. But the humans simply folded away and reappeared somewhere else. On the Council flagship Eternal Light, Commander Vexar of the Kresh watched the battle with all 4 of his eyes. He had fought the Scourge for 3 years, watching his people die in battle after battle. He had begun to believe survival was impossible, that the Scourge would consume everything. Now he watched humans fight with a ferocity and skill that defied belief. Their ships moved like living creatures. Their tactics changed every minute, never giving the Scourge time to adapt. And their weapons were terrifying in their effectiveness. How is this possible? Vexar's second-in-command asked. They were banished 30 years ago. They should be weaker than us, not stronger. We gave them time. Vexar said quietly. Time to grow without our restrictions. Time to innovate without our rules. We created our own doom. Number 5. A communication request came from the human flagship. Vexar accepted it immediately. Fleet Admiral Mireille Choi appeared on his screen, her expression hard, but not hostile. Commander Vexar, Mireille said, coordinate your forces with ours. We are uploading tactical protocols to your systems. Follow our lead, and we can save this system. Yes, Admiral, Vexar replied. He had no pride left, only desperation to survive. What do you need us to do? Hold the defensive perimeter around Theraxis Prime. Do not let any Scourge vessels reach the planet. We will handle the offensive operations. The Council ships, battered and depleted, formed a defensive sphere around their homeworld. Meanwhile, the human fleet tore through the Scourge swarm like a blade through flesh. Every attack was different. Every tactic was new. The Scourge could not adapt fast enough. Dr. Hyun Park monitored the battle from his station aboard the Indomitable. He analyzed Scourge responses in real time, looking for patterns, weaknesses, anything that could give humanity an advantage. They are trying to withdraw, Hyun reported to the bridge. The Scourge is pulling back. Do not let them escape, Commander Jiho Kim ordered. If they retreat, they will return stronger. We end this here. The human fleet pursued the fleeing Scourge vessels. Bora coordinated the pursuit with ruthless efficiency, cutting off escape routes, herding the swarm into kill zones. The Scourge tried to scatter, but human ships were everywhere, appearing from quantum fold space to block every avenue of retreat. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Scourge swarm was destroyed. Not a single hostile vessel remained in Theraxis Prime system. The Council defenders had suffered heavy losses, but they survived. The planet below was saved. In the aftermath, Korvan approached Jiho on the battle-scarred Indomitable. The Velen diplomat looked at the human commander with an expression that mixed awe gratitude, and shame. You saved us, Korvan said simply. After everything we did to you, you came and saved us. Jiho did not smile. We did not do this for you. We did this because it was right. Remember that. But Korvan was not finished. He knelt before Jiho, tears streaming down his alien face. Around them, council crew members and human soldiers stopped to watch. The proud Velen, representative of the species that had led humanity's banishment, knelt before the human commander. We were fools, Korvan whispered. Forgive us. Please. Forgive us. Jiho looked down at the kneeling alien. He felt no satisfaction in this moment, only sadness. Sadness for the lives lost, because the council had been too proud to accept help earlier. Sadness for the years of isolation humanity had endured. Sadness for what could have been if the galaxy had chosen cooperation over fear. Mireille stepped forward and helped Korvan stand. Her voice was firm but not cruel. Save your apologies. We have a war to win. Thraxis Prime is just one system. The Scourge still controls a third of the galaxy. Get your forces organized. We attack the next system in 2 days. News of the Battle of Thraxis Prime spread across Council space like wildfire. Humanity, the banished species, had achieved in hours what the Council could not do in years. They had defeated a Scourge swarm completely, saving an entire system without losing a single ship. Other species began to hope. If Thraxis Prime could be saved, maybe their worlds could too. Maybe the Scourge could be stopped. Maybe humanity really was as strong as the legends now claimed. Over the following months, humanity fought battle after battle. They liberated the Thexian remnant worlds, saving millions of crystalline beings from extinction. They held the line at Velen core systems, preventing the Empire's complete collapse. They established kill zones, where Scourge vessels folded into ambushes prepared by Bora's tactical genius. Every battle followed the same pattern. Humanity arrived without warning, fought with tactics the Scourge could not predict, and vanished before the enemy could mount effective counterattacks. They were ghosts, appearing and disappearing across the galaxy, always where they were needed most. The Council species watched with growing awe and fear. Humanity had become the deadliest military force in the galaxy. The species they had banished for being too dangerous had proven them right, but not in the way they expected. Humanity was dangerous to their enemies, not to their friends. On the Indomitable, Jiho reviewed battle reports with his senior staff. They had been fighting for 6 months without rest. Crews were exhausted. Ships needed repairs. But the Scourge did not rest, so neither could they. We are winning, Bora reported. Scourge territory has shrunk by 15%. Their adaptation rate is slowing. They cannot keep up with our tactical variations. Casualties? Jiho asked. Light compared to Council forces, Hyun answered. Our technology and tactics minimize losses, but we have still lost good people. Jiho nodded. Every human life lost hurt. They were not fighting for glory or conquest. They were fighting for survival, for the principle that all sentient life deserved protection. How long until we can trace the Scourge to their source? Jiho asked. Working on it, Hyun said. We need more data, more samples. Give us another 3 months of engagements, and I believe we can find their hive. Then we keep fighting, Jiho said. And when we find that hive, we end this war permanently.